Wait, hold on. A boy shows off 3 bloody teeth to the camera. He just yanked them from his father's mouth. Did you see the mess they made? He exclaims. I think it's because I took them from the middle, you know? Not from the room, he adds, acting cocky. But just a few days earlier, this boy Andrew was a total mess. Bullied by boys, ignored by girls at school, and beaten by his alcoholic father at home. Feeling lonely, he bought a camera and recorded everything happening around him. His cousin Matt could not bear seeing him so down and invited him to a nightclub for some fun. Andrew, entering a nightclub for the first time, pointed his camera at the sexy girls dancing. But one of the girls' boyfriends noticed, and just like that, Andrew's moment of joy ended in disappointment. Alone, he sat on the grass. At that moment, his classmate walked over and told him that he and Matt had discovered something strange, inviting Andrew to record it with his camera. Suspicious but curious, he followed them to a dark area. Not long after, they reached the depths of the forest and found a strange black hole. The 3 crouched at the entrance, and a harsh sound came from inside. Andrew was scared, but Matt, filled with excitement, jumped in first. With no choice, the others followed. Passing through a narrow passage, they reached the depths of a cave and were stunned by what they saw. A giant blue crystal, emitting sharp sound waves that disrupted the camera's signal. Matt stared at it with a trance-like expression, his nose bleeding uncontrollably. The next day, the 3 acted as if nothing had happened, playing games on the lawn. Matt took a baseball bat and threw it directly at his face, but weirdly, the ball froze in midair, unable to move an inch closer. Immediately, Andrew's nose began to bleed. Yet, Matt and he didn't seem surprised. In fact, they were thrilled. As it turns out, the blue crystal's radiation from the night before had given them superpowers to manipulate objects freely, and soon they started using their powers to prank people, like teasing girls at school, messing with older shoppers, and even tricking little kids. They had a great time. On their way home, an SUV behind them kept honking. Andrew, irritated, decided to give them a taste of their own medicine. With a small wave, the SUV lost control and flipped into the roadside river. Fortunately, they quickly stepped in to save the driver. This incident made them realize the danger of their powers. Matt proposed 3 rules to follow. Rule 1. Don't use it on living things. Rule 2. Don't use it when angry. And Rule 3. Don't use it in public or tell anyone about it. Andrew agreed on the surface, but, frustrated with his past experiences of being bullied, secretly resented these restrictions. A few days later, they went looking for Steve, and when they arrived at their destination, they saw Steve floating in midair, waving at them. Over time, their powers grew even stronger. Under his guidance, Andrew and Matt quickly learned to fly. Soon, they were soaring high above the ground, playing a game of football among the clouds. Suddenly, a loud noise erupted nearby as a Boeing passenger plane flew past, freezing next to him. Startled, he fainted and plummeted downward. In the nick of time, Andrew grabbed him, and they landed safely in an open field. Shaken by the experience, the 3 hugged tightly, forming a bond for life. Andrew then confided that he had always dreamed of visiting the mystical land of Tibet, a place that fascinated him. Seeing Andrew, who usually went unnoticed at school, student council president Steve signed him up for the school talent show. Andrew hesitated, saying, "I don't have any talent." But Matt reminded him, "Don't forget, you have this." Andrew's magic performance became the highlight of the event, making him a star. He was surrounded by a crowd of admirers wherever he went, including a red-haired girl who quickly made her way to him. At first, Andrew was shy, but he soon loosened up and they moved from the hall to a guest room upstairs. His friend followed them with a camera, wanting to record his friend's first time. But before he even reached the door, the red-haired girl stormed out in disgust. Andrew, nervous, had vomited all over her. Realizing what had happened, friend burst out laughing. His newfound confidence shattered, became the school's laughingstock. Girls avoided him, and the boys who bullied him only grew more aggressive. At home, he stared silently at a spider on the floor. A dark thought crossed his mind. Staring at the spider, he extended his hand, and it was instantly torn apart. Faced with his abusive father, he simply waved his hand, sending him flying 10 meters away. After that night, Andrew was a changed person. When confronted by bullies, he used his powers to snap their teeth from a distance, proudly showing them off to the camera. Matt, feeling guilty for hurting his self-esteem, apologized by flying up to him. But Andrew, agitated, accidentally summoned lightning, killing him. At the funeral, Matt, sensing something wrong with Andrew, confronted him, but he brushed him off and flew away. He went to an abandoned scrapyard, muttering into the camera that he was embracing his dark side. In order to raise money for his sick mother, Andrew wore his father's old firefighter suit and approached some thugs demanding their cash. One recognized his voice, but he quickly used his powers, knocking them down and stealing their money. Next, he went to a gas station, shoved the cashier aside, and used his powers to empty the cash register, making the bills float into his bag before running out. The cashier grabbed a gun and fired at Andrew, but he deflected the bullet, which struck a nearby mailbox. The explosion severely burned Andrew, who was rushed to the hospital. When his father visited him in the hospital, he broke down, saying, "Your mother just passed away." Moments later, though, he blamed Andrew, screaming at him as the hospital room camera slowly moved closer. Meanwhile, Matt, who was celebrating his girlfriend's birthday, sensed something was wrong when he started bleeding from his nose. Realizing Andrew was in trouble, he rushed to the hospital, where he found him hovering in the air, holding his father and preparing to drop him. Matt quickly used his powers to save Andrew's father. Furious, Andrew went on a rampage, causing destruction throughout the city, completely out of control, as bystanders recorded the scene on their phones. Matt tried to reason with him, pleading for him to let go, but he only grew more enraged, his powers escalating. Their battle intensified and eventually brought them to an empty plaza. The police surrounded them, and this only fueled his anger. When the police fired, he used his powers to block every bullet. Witnessing the chaos and innocent lives at risk, Matt, deeply saddened, decided he had to end it. In the movie's final scene, Matt is in the Tibetan mountains, fulfilling his dream of traveling the world and helping people in need. But he's also determined to uncover what happened that night in the cave. Thus, the movie ends. Chronicle is an unconventional anti-hero story. When the protagonists realize their powers are beyond control, the trust between them shatters, leading Andrew to lose control and cause tragedy. This ending teaches us that power and ability are double-edged swords. If misused or uncontrolled, they bring devastating consequences. It's a reminder to handle power with caution, maintaining a sense of responsibility. That's it for today's video. See you next time.